Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I am Bancroft being joined once again by both Jake and, like always, Fluff.
What's going on, y'all?
What up, people?
And today we have a matchup. Fluff is bringing out King Cole from the new set, and Jake is bringing back Mecha Frieza. So, like always, there's buttons. Feel free to click them. Also, at the time of this video being released, both their profiles for the first time ever will be actually in the description down below.
Oh wow, they're both already out.
Yeah, well, we've already recorded Fluff's King Cole by the point in time of recording this video, so, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
So, Mecha Frieza's been on the channel quite a bit. I feel like it's had multiple pilots and multiple iterations since its release. Fluff, why don't you tell us about King Cold and its strategy a little bit?
Yeah, King Cold is really weird. So, if I had to describe the deck in just a short sentence, think about Turles mixed with Prison Frieza. It's a very field-centric deck. So the King Cold's Dynasty, which is the card that starts out, basically enables you to play any number of green field cards with an energy cost of 2 in your battle area without the restriction of only being able to have one field card. So the deck just advantages having multiple field cards out. And I didn't feel like I would like the deck as much. I just threw it together to be fun. And it actually turned out to be really fun to play. And it's a nice way to think about playing a game.
Yeah, it's got a lot of really solid effects that are almost impossible for your opponent to interact with. Like the field cards have some counters, like we talked about in our top 10 2-drops video, but the amount of fields that King Cold puts out really kind of nullifies that strategy, and you kind of just have to play through it.
Yeah, it's really weird, and the effects that the field cards themselves generate are so unbelievably good for the health of the deck.
And they're so subtle as well. Like, if you read each individual card, you're kind of like, this is kind of okay. And then you see how it interacts with the rest of the deck list, and the field card's power increases exponentially with some of the other cards you have in the list.
Absolutely. And it is a draw machine. So on each side of the leader, every time you activate a field card, you get to draw a card. Plus, usually, I think there's only one of the field cards that don't allow you to draw upon being played. So every field replaces themselves, plus with the leader adds an additional card to your hand. Plus, you can, as you can see here, my first turn, I took 2 cards from my life and added them to my hand, so I shot up to Awaken really fast. And you don't have to play it that way. I just chose to do it this way. So this turn, I'm going to get the leader effect on both the front and back side. So, because I'm going to Awaken after activating the +1 on the Vegeta. So it just keeps a large grip of cards in the hand, which is nice for problem solving and having solutions turn to turn.
Yeah, and when you play this many extra cards in your deck, I know because I'm sitting across from you playing Mecha Frieza, your combo power could kind of be low, but King Cold nullifies that with just the sheer volume of cards in your hand.
Yeah.
It's not. I've played against King Cold a few times, and it's not uncommon to ask your opponent how many cards in hand, and they say 14.
Yeah. 14 or so. It's absolutely crazy to me. I didn't expect it at all. And actually, when I was building, I was like, man, I want to cut down as close to 50 as possible. So, like, I think I'm going to make the tough choice and only run Dormant Potential at like 4.
Only 4?
I'll run it at 3.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and not 4. Yeah. And I ended up like just convincing myself that that 3 was going to be okay, but I'd bring a 4th one to the shop in case I felt like I needed it later, after getting to play. And the deck just draws enough that I usually ended up putting dormant potentials back on the bottom of the deck because I would have 2 or 3 of them in hand and just ended up not needing them.
Yeah, this turn was absolutely huge for you. I'm trying to do what I can here to try and stop the bleeding, but I am going to take quite a bit of damage here.
Yeah, the Poutine is actually pretty good against this deck in a lot of ways because there's a lot of opportunities that the deck has to free play cards out, and Poutine can just tap those and halt my ability to pressure. And then the Violent Rush Bojack gives you so much defensive potential that King Cold is a lot like Turles, in which it only has a few opportunities per turn to cause damage or pressure, and Violent Rush really helps the Frieza player, especially in the way that you run your list, mitigate a lot of that.
Honestly, I felt like Bojack was kind of a trap against King Cold now that I've had a little bit of experience. It's nice to have a barrier battle card on the field against green, but abusing the Aegis effect over time, even though you replace the card in your hand, you discard. With the amount of extra cards you draw, you end up discarding a lot of combo power away. And when it comes down for you to finally meet your maker during those essential turns, you kind of just run out of gas.
Yep. I could see that. Here, you start pressuring my Unison, and I made a very poor calculation here. So I had a negate to stop this, and I was like, no, I think I'm good. So I didn't, and then you put a double striker on it, which made me lose my Unison, which, while not being the end of the world for the King Cold player, there's just not another good opportunity until like turn 4, if you think you're going for game, or turn 5 to reboard a Unison, which basically kills the usefulness of the charismatic villains. So I immediately just start charging the charismatic villains. I think I ended up bottom decking one this turn with an effect because I know that I'm not going to spend the energy to board another Unison this turn. So that was well played on your behalf because that Unison is a lot of free value while it stays on the field.
And that play really just came from matchup knowledge. I actually lost to King Cold in the webcam event I played in recently. And I remember swinging at the King Vegeta Unison with the Trunks Unison and saying no combo, and my opponent saying, "Oh, I thought you were going to double strike it," and just took one marker off of his Unison, and then I passed the turn, and I saw this exact same scenario come up, and I was like, well, let's double strike it this time and see if that changes the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
It might have been a play that comes back to bite me in the ass, considering you only run 3 dormant and have already spent 1 this game. And we've seen Mecha Frieza doesn't really need battle cards to end the game with the amount of Unisons that I run. So I'm not super worried about Charismatic Villain. So who knows? But I made the play just to kind of experiment and see what happens.
It definitely pushed me off of like being able to free play the 4-drop Frieza freely, or I think there were multiple points that I could have overwhelmed, but was still having to deal with a Poutine on the field. So at this point, I'm having to kind of sequence my plays in an effort to turn on certain effects. Here, like, I wanted to board the 5-drop Frieza this turn, but I think I was one extra card short and didn't want to pass with no open energy, knowing how explosive you could potentially be. So I passed with one energy open instead of spending that one energy to board out another extra card. Whereas if I had had that Unison, I would have been able to board that extra card for free, turn on the abilities that I wanted, and go from there.
So here I just go into the secret rare, and if this isn't a tell that I'm completely asked out defensively, that I use the secret rare in this scenario, then I don't know what is.
I'm actually sweating at this point. And it's just because you've got the big bodies on the field. I know you can pay 4 energy here, and you give your secret rare triple strike,
A double strike dual attack.
double strike, dual attack. I'm still worried about that as an offensive tool that you now have in your repertoire, especially because with the Bojack on field, you can just tap out on your turn and then get 2 energy back during a combo step in my turn.
And maybe using the secret rare more aggressively is something I need to work on. Yeah. Because I actually was frustrated later in this event, and this happens very often with the Sen Shinron secret rare. I still think the card is very powerful, but it's so easy to remove. That very often your opponent removes it before you get any kind of any kind of aggressive value out of it. But the defensive value you get out of it is so strong that it's not super necessary. And maybe swinging at your battle card there was a mistake as well.
But I don't think so. And that's why I only include that card at a 2 copies of, because unlike Topo or unlike the Frieza negate, it's not a general de-incentivizer for you to not attack. It's just an incentivizer for you to clear the rest of my field. So if you don't know what that effect does, is for the rest of the turn after it's played, if your opponent would attack your leader, they have to discard a card to do so. So it's not any time that they would just declare an attack. So you played that King Cold, you had a Poutine on field which tapped it, but every time I played that King Cold, any other card that could be attacked on the field just became the targets for those attacks. So when I played the King Cold, generally I would lose my Unison. Or if I had a 4-drop freeze on field that was in rest mode, my opponent would go into that card extra hard after I played the King Cold out. So the King Cold is not, it's not a disincentivizer to stop your opponent's turn. It just incentivizes the removal of your aggro.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you can pop one of your fields during battle to KO a battle card, right?
Yes, one of them, it's an energy cost of 2 or less.
Okay, but that's on your leader, right?
No, it's on the anticipated onslaught auto once per turn. Whenever you KO a field spell, you can KO a 2 or less. It doesn't ignore barrier, and it, in this field state, like it didn't affect you at all.
Oh, so see, that's why I didn't pay for and go in with the secret rare, because I thought you could just KO it during battle with the field.
Unless there's an effect that I'm missing, but I don't think so. One of the field spells rips a marker off Unison. One of them lets you draw a card for the cost of discarding a card, and then one of them gets nothing for being destroyed, and then the other one gets nothing for being destroyed, but has an effect that procs whenever one of your fields is sent to the drop area. And then the leader activate battle gives itself 10,000 for the battle, getting rid of a card.
Yeah, and you hitting that negate out of my hand here was just huge.
Yeah, this Frieza puts in a lot of work and is a pure aggro machine.
And gets around Poutine just because his energy cost is reduced. So you're just hard casting him for less energy, which isn't a skill.
Yep. But you traversed around him rather well. Yes, I got rid of your secret rare with his activate main.
What is
And
his
I
activate
did
main?
rip the negate. So his activate main is you pop one of your field spells to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, KO it, remove one card from their hand to the drop area, the opponent's hand, and then restand the 5-drop.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's.
So, yeah. What were you saying?
No, I was saying that's pretty good.
Yeah, it really is kind of a closer. And I said in my deck profile that I thought that should have been the SR for this archetype, not the cooler that we got.
Yeah.
Because I don't even run that cooler. I just looked at it and was like, wow, that is so niche and just not good. Like maybe it's a decent sideboard option, but dedicated main board slot, I'm just not comfortable with it.
Yeah, so here I'm just trying to refill my hand and remove this Frieza. For whatever reason, I'm not confident that I can kill you with all the extra cards in your hand. All the cards in your hand, not extra cards, but how many more cards you have than me in your hand. I'm confident I can kill you. So I'm just hoping that I can remove this Frieza from the board and maybe extend my life another turn. Watching this game back, I see so many mistakes that I've made, and it just goes to show that it's very easy to essentially walk yourself out of a victory in Dragon Ball.
Yes.
And that's why I say that Dragon Ball is the most complex TCG that's out right now, just in terms of like high level play.
You and I talked for a little bit after this game, and I was kind of telling you like things that I saw that you didn't believe were effective on your side that just genuinely made me sweat. And I don't know if it was like your internal monologue that talked you out of it, like out of like those things being extensive pressures, like that secret rare Shinron. You left 4 energy open. I think I would have paid the 4 energy since you had the Violent Rush Bojack on the field, and I would have just like put tons of pressure on my leader, knowing the King Cold deck, it doesn't have a ton of combo power at hand.
Yeah, you do have a lot of ways to negate for free, though, so I was pretty worried about that. And here you counter me, which is just devastating. I'm debating, yeah. It's really all I can do to try and survive is to tap down your remaining energy and hope there's something I can do here.
Yeah. The tapping down my remaining energy with the Bergamo put me in a position where I now had to, without question, kill you here and now. Because I had an extender to my plays, but turning the energy, like green is just one of those colors where you don't want to get rid of, you don't want to waste energy, and having your energy Bergamo down is so good for the yellow player.
You say that, but I feel like King Cold is the green deck that is the most resilient to having its energy tapped down.
Yes.
And here I'm just comboing out everything, and you see I combo out the blocker Vegeta, which actually would have been huge if I had remembered to play it. But I don't think it changes the outcome of the game. He still has his leader swing. He has tons of cards in his hand. I'm down to nothing. And like Fluff said, I basically just didn't go for it with the secret rare and was punished heavily.
I will say, I know it was unintentional when Fluff went to that second super combo when you went to go put the I think it was the homicidal clones at the bottom of your deck. You accidentally flipped it up.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, that kind of tells, I mean, it was an accident, but it kind of tells Jake in that moment that, like, you have another one in your hand, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as much as I love homicidal clones as a negate, the thing that always, and it's one of those that it kind of talks me out of using the card in the moment, is if you're at 3 life and you have to take one of your life to put a homicidal clones out, especially in the situation that I was with Jake, where there's a Poutine on the field, where he can just tap the incoming blocker down with Poutine. Now I'm in chompa kill range, where it's so easy for my opponent to just kill me. So I didn't feel like that card was valuable, and I didn't mean to show it to Jake. And maybe it's like a nice mind game that I did, but I definitely did not mean to.
But it definitely told me that you had more negates in your hand.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I say it's a lot like Frieza Prison, where it just keeps a grip of negates at pretty much all points. I mean, the deck runs, 3 dormant potential in my build, 4 royal supremacy, 2 homicidal tokens or homicidal clones, and then 2 of the king colds. So there's always a fair amount of negates available.
So, with that being said, hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. There's buttons. Click them. They're there for a reason. Jake, final words.
If you want to win, you have to practice. King Cold's good. Don't sleep on it.
And Fluff, would you lead us out?
Don't take, and this is, maybe a little bit towards Jake, don't take anything as a factuality. If there's, and this can be applied to like a card game, it can be applied to your life in general. If there's something that you're not satisfied with or content with, you have the power to change it. Like, if you want to get better at a game, get better at the game. If you're not happy with, your standing in life, do it. For me personally, I'm gunning for Jimmy's championship. I'm tired of that asshole being the champion, and I'm coming for it. So as always, read your cards, know your plays, let us make mistakes so you don't have to, and fluff out.